How did you feel on the verge when your agent said, I think we need to let it go, to the point where another opportunity came through?
Yeah, it was like, just what a roller coaster. It's
I'm sorry, I have to put you through this.
Yeah. Oh man. It was, I mean, but such a learning curve as well, you know. Like I started as a blogger, you know, so to even get to the point where a literary agent finds me and is like, I really like your voice, you should write a book, it's like, what?
Was it out of nowhere?
Out of nowhere. I mean, I'd been writing for Elle magazine, doing the fitness column there for about almost a year, I guess, at that point. And I think probably he found me through that, maybe. And legit just approached me and said, come in and have a meeting, I think you should write a book. And I was like, great, cool. I don't know if I got one of those in me, but okay. And so started writing a proposal, and it literally took a year to kind of refine it. And it's so much work. I had no idea what is involved in a book proposal. A book proposal, for people who don't know, that's about 20,000 words in and of itself. Just kind of, you have to do chapter breakdowns and what's involved in every single thing. And it's really, really detailed. So to kind of come up with the concept and then write this proposal and then refine it and get it to the point where we were able to take it to mainstream publishers, that process was about a year. And then my agent contacted, obviously, his extensive list of publishers. Most of them wouldn't even look at me because my social media following wasn't big enough. They just weren't really interested. And then I think we got meetings with, 3 or 4 publishers. And we went to those meetings, and in every single meeting, my social media following was brought up. And, you know, well, what do you intend to do to grow your social media following? And how do you intend to promote the book? And I was just like, how do you intend to promote it? You know, like, aren't you the publisher? Like, this is weird.
But how did they do that? Sorry, I stop you there. But how did they do that before the social media then? What was the metrics of the book being successful? How did they measure that then?
Exactly. That had so many questions. Okay. But I think my view after coming out the other end of it is just that publishing's going through, it's just been turned on its head, hasn't it? You know, like with the advent of social media, etc. Like, the game has completely changed.
Right.
And so my understanding is that the social media following isn't really brought into it now. For people who write fiction, it's not a big deal. But so my book is non-fiction, and if you're kind of an expert, huge air quotes there, by the way, an expert in your field, which, you know, I think if writing the kind of book I'm writing, you're kind of supposed to be, you are expected to have a large following in order for people to know who you are, to want to buy it. I understand the logic to a degree, but what bothered me through the process was like, man, I didn't realize this was a thing to the extent that it is. And, you know, how sad that, like, imagine all the stories we're not hearing because people, you know, might not have a big social media following. Like, it seems really unfair to me. And, you know, I have a friend who works in a big publishing house who has told me stories about people who have huge social media followings and get a book deal and get all the fancy things that go with that, a big, you know, advance
red carpet and
all of that, and they sell virtually no copies. So it doesn't equate to sales, but for some reason that isn't kind of being heard yet. And so I'd had the last meeting with the final publisher who was interested. We'd had it, I guess it was just before Christmas of 2017. Then obviously everybody goes away for Christmas, come back in January, and then my agent contacts me and says they've come back and said no. You know, they kind of, again, they think the idea needs to be fluffed out a little bit. And I'm not saying the proposal was perfect in and of itself. It definitely advanced even after this point. But there was enough there, I feel, as a basis for, it's a proposal. Like, the whole thing is, you know, you see an idea in there and you have an editor who can work with me on it. And, you know, so I feel it was strong enough as a proposal to at least get me in the door somewhere. But the major thing that seemed to be holding most people back was lack of social media following. And that's what was cited again with this one. And my agent, I have to say, was an absolute gangster. Like, he was so good and really believed in me and really believed in the idea. And he pushed so hard for me. So it was not a failing on his part whatsoever. I know that he was trudging those streets and trying to get me meetings and doing all that he could do. He shook every tree to go and get me in there, you know? And so when that person came back, he was like, I've exhausted my list. Like, I think that's the end of the road, really. And I was like, the fuck it is. Excuse my language, but no.
You got me so excited. There is no way I'm going to just close the door, put it in the box and be like, all right, sorry.
I spent a year working on this thing. Am I meant to just throw it in the trash now? I don't get it. That made no sense to me. Like, I put so much time and effort into it. I was like, all right, cool. I guess I'll just look into self-publishing. And so I wrote, like, I had a bit of an angry cry for like 5 minutes. And then I wrote a Instagram post raging against the machine. And so I had that post, the irony, got probably the most likes and most comments of anything I've ever written. Because I think it was relatable to people, like, this is just what a ridiculous metric for us all to be going by. And, I've worked really hard in my career to get to this moment. And for that to be the thing that takes it away from me is like, man, this really sucks. And so I just kind of was having a little bit of a tantrum on Instagram, basically. No. And that off the back of that, somebody on Twitter, actually, a girl who's followed me for years on Twitter, contacted me and said, oh, you should contact this guy. And she added him in the tweet. So you should contact him. He's a kind of a bigwig in Unbound publishing house. And so I sent him a direct message and I was like, would you mind if I email you? He said, sure, no problem. So I sent him an email and explained the whole situation. I said, here's what's happened. I had meetings with this person, this person, this person. Everybody's turning me down because of my social media following. I think I've got quite a good proposal. Would you mind if I send it to you? Would you mind just giving it a read and let me know your thoughts? And he was like, yeah, cool. And so I sent it to him. That was so I put that Instagram post up on a Thursday afternoon. That I tweeted that guy Friday morning, and he was like, yeah, sure, send me the proposal through. So that all happened kind of by the end of the day on the Friday. And so I sent it to him on Sunday morning, thinking it'll be the first thing he sees when he's back in the office on Monday. By mid-morning on Sunday, he'd emailed me and said, yeah, I think this is great. Like, we would totally publish this book. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he was like, I'm going to call you tomorrow. And I was like, oh my God. And so he called me Monday and was like, yeah, cool. Let's work on it with Unbound. And yeah, they'd happily publish it.
So let me recap. You send a message on Instagram on Thursday. You tweet him and DM him on Friday. By Monday, you have a green light. Let's get rolling with.
Basically. So within 72 hours, I'd made more progress than on social media, the thing that I supposedly have no following on, than I had in a year of working on this thing.
Oh my God.
So, and from that point, so that Unbound is a regular publishing house. So this is not self-publishing, it's a regular publishing house. The difference being that you crowdfund the cost of your book, right? The production cost of your book. Once you've crowdfunded that, it acts as a regular publishing house. So you have your editor, you've got art directors, proofreaders, they take care of all of that. They sell it into all the retailers, they take care of all of the production of it, right? So it's a regular publishing house. The only difference is you crowdfund for the cost of the book.
Gotcha.
So that's January. So I guess we're like mid-January, a few phone calls with this guy, and we're in there. Cool. So the next stage is you kind of obviously refine your proposal a little bit more, if needs be. And I think I don't think I needed to do that much extra work on it. I don't think I had to change that many. They were like, yeah, this is great as it is. And I was like, oh, champion. Okay, great. And then they do Unbound put on like a workshop for people who they've taken on to talk about the crowdfunding process and how that all works. And that was really eye-opening for me because I didn't really know anything about it. And so I was so happy to go to that workshop, which was, I think, 2 or 3 hours of them kind of explaining how to go about it. And I mean, in my head, I'd thought, oh, obviously I'll just put up a few tweets about it or, put it on my Instagram, blah, blah. Their thing was email every single person you know. Send a personal email to every single person you know who will be involved in it. And I was like, okay, that's an eye-opener. That's a lot. And so I made a list of people, and I think I had maybe 300 people on that list.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, send 5 emails a day, because obviously people are going to be replying to your emails, and so your inbox is going to be a disaster if you just email loads of people all at once. So anyway, in the interim, they make a video for you to kind of put on their website to promote it. So it's you talking about your book and the concept and why this book should be produced. And that's your crowdfunding page, basically, that goes on Unbound's website. So we made the video, and it's, really well produced, and they put it up on their website. Cool, it goes live. So now it's like April by the time that comes around. where we'd made the video and it went live. And so I'll full disclosure, the cost of a book. So bearing in mind, if you were going to make a big coffee table book, for example, that's hardback, that's full color, that's got all these pictures in it, beautiful pictures, that's going to run you a lot of money, right? So it's very expensive to produce something like that. So being the daughter of a very thrifty Irish woman, I was like, I'll just take the cheapest option for whatever you got. It'll be black and white. I want no pictures. I want zero color, like just nothing. However cheap we can make this thing, let's do it. The most basic, not hardback, nothing, 12.5 grand, right? So I had to raise that. And so when they sent me that figure, I was like, okay.
Did you think it's going to be less?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. But then, I mean, I heard from conversations with them, people doing those big photography books that I talked about, they're looking at upwards of 20 grand sometimes to produce that. So I actually felt like, I've maybe gotten off a little bit easy here. But also I do not come from money. So that's a huge sum of money. It's huge to me. And to get my head around, I'd kind of felt really confident after the crowdfunding workshop. And then to get my head around like, I have to raise that amount of money. Okay.
All right.
That was like, this is going to be work. And also conscious of the fact that if you don't hit it by this target by a certain date, and I think they give you 3 months or something maybe to raise that money.
Right.
Maybe longer. I can't remember. Sorry, excuse me, but with the details, I can't remember quite how long.
Still, like...
Yeah, it's a few months to raise the money.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, like, what if I don't raise it? I'm kind of making all this noise about it on social media. So anyway, I, get the green light that my crowdfunding page is live. Okay, cool, let's go. So I put it up on my Instagram and I start emailing people. Did not take the advice of email 5 people a day. I was like, screw it. I'm emailing however many I can do in a day. So it'd be 30 people sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And it would be personalized emails. So every single person would get, there'd be a main body about like
of course,
the book, obviously.
But the intro needs to be...
The intro would be personal to everybody.
Honey and smooshed and...
Listen, I know I haven't spoken to you for 6 years, but here's one, and that's really hard. You've got to just... take a lot of humble pie to reach out to people. And I'm not good at asking for help at the best of times. But to then be in a position where it's like, okay, I need your money, actually. And that's really hard to add, like, especially for me, that's really hard to ask of people. So I put it up on, I want to say that was, again, maybe a Thursday or a Friday. And that was late in the day. I remember I put it up about maybe 5 o'clock.
Right.
And by that evening, I'd hit 25% of my crowdfunding goal. And people were messaging me out of, and sharing it on Twitter and Instagram and stuff loads. And just the support for it was just overwhelming, like really, really humbling. And so I just worked like an absolute dog over the next couple of weeks to try and basically within 3 weeks, I'd raise the money. And that's apparently quite quick for that model. And so once I hit the 100%, I was like, oh man, okay. So now you have to write the thing. So now we know we've got the money squared away. Cool.
Oh
okay.
God.
So now I need to write it. So in your head, when you think like, yeah, one day I'm going to write a book. In my head, it was like, obviously massive publishing house. I get a huge advance. I go off to the Italian mountains. I take a couple months, just like
small hats.
Just
nobody's touching me.
Just get to kind of like enjoy this experience.
Serenity,
yeah. Meanwhile, this is my life. So no, it doesn't go that way. I obviously I have no advance. There isn't that. And I've got to pay rent. So I have to just so I didn't miss a day of work. And I basically spent the month of June in 2018 writing this book. So the majority of it was within the proposal, to be honest. At this point, it's just fleshing out what's there in the proposal. So it just was a matter of kind of knuckling down and really kind of digging into that and fleshing out and adding interviews, etc., etc. And so I think I actually took it was like 6 weeks of let's just knuckle down. Again, didn't miss a day of work, showed up for all my classes, did everything I needed to do, and every spare second was spent on that. And I think my deadline was at end of June. I hit that, got it in, and then it's just kind of, you just wait. And so then pre-Christmas, there were a couple of proofreading rounds, and I think it would have been maybe February, March, we go through typefaces of, what we want the font to look like and things like that. So we settle on that. Then they send me the actual kind of an A4 version, but they have to print the size that my book will be. And I was like, that feels a bit more real now. Okay, so then we proofread that version. And any final kind of things, that's where they need to be ironed out. So then that was all done. And then the stage that we're at now is the cover. So that was last month in July, was a lot of back and forth with this poor art director who, God love him, has the patience of a saint. Because I'm not, I know what I like visually, but I'm not great at describing it. And I'd kind of made all these Pinterest boards, and I'd been to Waterstones and taken loads of pictures of books the covers that kind of stand out to me. And so I tried to kind of give as much of a guidance as I could, but also bearing in mind, I don't work in publishing,
Right.
So you've got to trust them as well. Like, they know what works in the market. So you kind of have to balance that out.
Yeah.
And so, thankfully, we reached a happy medium. There was definitely a point there where I was like, I'm just going to end up with a cover that I don't like, I think, because I don't think we're going to get there. But then thankfully, kind of at the last minute, came through, and it all kind of came together, and I love it. So, and then last week they sent me the copy that will be on the back of the book, and that's kind of like really surreal when you read that, because you just think of all the books that, that's what you do when you pick up a book, you read the back of it, and
but when you have to read it about yourself,
it's
a little bit different, isn't it?
It's really different. And I think every step of this process, I keep saying to people, like, when you hit the deadline and you send your book off, it's like you've just sent someone a Word document, and that's that. Like, you kind of not forget about it, but it doesn't seem real at all. It's just this assignment you've been working on, and then you send it to the person you're meant to send it to, and then
that's it.
It's like, hurry up and wait.